y'all, what's up? It's your girl Devin NeChole, and today we are going to make a wig. We are going to make a closure wig, and I'm going to walk you guys through the steps. If you're not a pro, you will be one after this video. So you're going to need a wig head, also a stand for your wig head, a needle and thread, a mesh dome cap, and I'm just showing you how the mesh dome cap is, and also how I place it. I just place those two lines in between the middle line on my wig head. And then also we're going to use a candle because I like to light a candle while I'm doing this, and I just have some Janeiro hair and also a closure, and I'm just showing you guys the closure. Now to begin, we are going to you're going to want to bring your closure up probably about a half an inch. If you like more baby hair, you probably want to bring it up just a little bit further. And we're going to go ahead and pin that down. And then I will be showing you guys how I actually sew this down. This will allow you to actually, once you cut that cap underneath the closure, for everything to lay and for it to blend flawlessly. And so now I'm just going to go in with my push pins, and all of these items can be purchased from your local beauty supply store. And I'm just going to make sure I pull it not too tight, because you don't want to pull the closure back, but you just want to pull it tight enough, taut really, and then go ahead and pin it down. This will help when you're sewing to make sure that you don't sew either direction, you just sew directly straight down. And I'm going to go ahead and put that hair up in a clip, and then we are going to get into sewing. So I am using cotton thread. I prefer nylon, but I use what I had on hand. And if y'all don't have cotton on hand, or if you do have cotton on hand, this video is perfect for you, but I do prefer nylon. Now I'm actually going through, and I'm not sewing through that elastic band, because that will affect the elasticity of the wig and how tight it fits to your head. So I'm actually sewing on top of that elastic band, but through the mesh cap, if that makes sense. And I'm doing the pull and loop method. So here you go. You guys can actually see I'm going through the actual lace, through the mesh, not the elastic band, and then I'm looping it through and pulling it tight, so it kind of creates a lock and it stays in place. And I'm just gonna show you guys exactly how I'm doing it, a little slow-mo, going through that lace, making sure I'm not going through the elastic band but the mesh, and then pulling it through that loop. And that is all that I'll be doing, and that's the exact whole method that I'm going to be using to sew this wig, is the loop and pull method. And we are now done, and I just wanted to show you guys how neat it looks. Now we're going to take our first track. Mine happens to be 14-inch of Janeiro hair, just some hair I got from the beauty supply store, and I'm going to align that with the kind of the end of the mesh dome cap. This will ensure that when I sew it down, if the wind were to blow and the hair blows back, you will not see the mesh dome cap. Essentially what you will see is my edges if I have them out, or if not, you just gonna see some skin. So yes, this is the way I like to use, and it can be difficult because when we start sewing, you do not want to sew through this elastic band. If you sew through it, your wig will not fit. So I'm just showing you guys how I'm doing it. I'm just using that pull and loop method. Now, the first time that I do sew this track down, I am going to go through the actual track. But then after that, I'm going to go underneath the track because I don't want to cause unnecessary shedding. This isn't virgin hair, so I know that it is probably going to shed and tangle a lot, and so in order to alleviate some of that, I'm just going to sew underneath the track. And if you guys will notice, I did leave about 1 inch of space between where I sewed my closure and where I'm sewing this first track. That is because when we get to the top of the head, I'm going to lay a track directly underneath the closure, and I won't be able to do that if I sewed this first track directly to the closure. So that's why. And it's literally just a little bit of space, enough to just maybe lay 1 or 2 tracks, whatever your preference is. Mine is just enough space to lay 1 track, but if you prefer to, do your thing. This is your wig, not mine. Alright, so this is a better view of how I'm sewing the wig. Like you see, I am going through the mesh cap, not the elastic band, underneath the track, back up and through the loop and pulling. And that is the method that I will be using for this entire wig, y'all. So yeah, it just, I don't know, it kind of just locks in the track. You don't have to worry about when you're brushing it, the comb getting stuck on the actual thread with this method. That's what I've noticed, so that's why I like to use it. Shout out to Mon Duke in the video. But and this is just showing you guys, when the wind blows, you will not see that wig cap, which is why I like using this method. So yeah. And as you can see, I am using those push pins just to make sure to place the track. It makes it easier to sew than when you have the track just kind of falling all over the place. So I do recommend this, especially for my beginners. It made sewing it so easy. And if you are a beginner, I recommend using nylon thread. Cotton thread is so tricky. It gets tangled. It gets caught on everything. So if you're a beginner and you want to make it easier on yourself, girl, just run to Sally's and get you some nylon thread, okay? All right, and I am done sewing my first track. I did go ahead and cut it once I got to the other side, and now we're laying our second track, and we're going to be laying these tracks now, just going straight across, and I will be doing the fold over method. And in order to go ahead and sew this first track and get it started, I am going to sew through the actual weft. After I sew through the weft once, though, I will be sewing underneath the track and doing that pull and lock method that I showed you guys earlier. This is just to ensure that that first part of the track stays in place. And again, do not sew through the elastic band, y'all. Please do not sew through the elastic band or your wig will not fit. I literally, once I made this wig and tried it on, I did not need anything. I didn't even need an elastic band. It just fit my head so perfectly. So if you want a wig that you can take on and off, you don't have to put a whole bunch of bobby pins in it, you don't need to sew it down, this is the perfect method for you. All right, and now I'm going to be showing you guys how to do the fold over method. First, I'm going to fold my track over, pin it down at the fold, and then just lay the track the way I want it to go, straight across. Put a pin in it. If you are new to sewing, I do recommend pins. And I'm just showing you guys that it's how much space. It's probably about a pinky size worth of space. If you want your wig a little bit more fuller, you can lay them just stacked on top of each other. But that first stitch, once you do the fold over method, needs to be as close to the fold as possible. This will make sure that your wig lays flat. Now, I am not sewing through the weft. I am sewing underneath the weft. And I will be doing that for the rest of this wig. And as you guys can see, that track is laying down completely flat, and that's because I made my stitches small, and that's because my first stitch was as close to that fold as possible. So it may take you guys some practice. I have been sewing wigs for years and years, but just keep with it and just keep practicing and you will get there. Hey, look at that neat stitching. This is what your wig should look like. And now I am done with that first bundle. I'm going in with my second. I'm just showing you guys I did double the track. And of course, I'm using my pins to put it in place. And in order for me to sew this double weft track down, I am going to sew through the wefts on this one, because when it comes to double wefted tracks, ooh, that is a tongue twister. When it comes to double wefted tracks, they can be a little tricky. I don't like for mine to slide, so I always sew through the track first. And so that's what I'm doing here. I'm sewing through that track first and just connecting the two, making sure that they're really close together. All right, y'all, and I literally have just been going from side to side, just side to side. And if you do this way, eventually you'll get to the top, and this is what you'll see. And just keep sewing until you literally have enough space for about one track. You may have to finagle it, like one side might have a little bit more space and you can fit two tracks. And I'll show you guys what you can do if that does happen to you, because that did happen to me. So yeah. All right, and this is what I mean about having just enough space to sew one track. This is my second to last track that I'll be sewing on the left side of my wig, because there literally, after sewing this track, there'll only be space for one more track. And so at the end of this track, I am going to sew through the weft, because I will be cutting it opposed to doing the fold over method. So I am going to cut it and then sew through that track, that weft, to make sure that it actually is secured to the wig cap. And as you guys can see, I did just sew through the actual weft. And now I'm going to go in and, like I said, cut it. And then I'm going to sew through the weft again. I sew through the weft probably about 3 times just to make sure it's secure. And then I will do a double loop and pull, and then cut the actual thread. All right, so we are on the right side of the wig, and I am sewing, this will be my second to last track that I'm sewing on this side, because after I sew this track, there will only be space left for one more track, and that will be my last track. So I am just doing that pull and loop method and sewing this track, and I'll be sewing this track till about probably, I'll show you guys, but it's kind of where I just kind of ran out of space and there was only space left for one track, because I did have a little bit more space on the right side and kind of towards the back of the head. I did need to go ahead and fill it, so that is why I am sewing this track, and then I will cut it. And of course, when I'm cutting my tracks, I am going to sew through the weft to make sure that it is secured and it lays down flat and is secured to the wig. All right, and now I'm just showing you guys about to where I'll be sewing it. Where that second pin is where I'll be sewing it to. And as you see, I did sew it, cut it, and I'm going to lay my last and final track. If you guys have been following along, we are on our last track. And so I am going to sew this. I'm not going to sew it on the lace closure. I'm going to sew it directly to the actual wig cap. So that's what I'm going to be doing, or the mesh dome cap, because that's what we're using. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm just putting my pins down to make sure everything is lined and looks neat. You want this to be neat. You don't want any added space, because on top of this will be the hair for your closure. And if this track is bumpy, your closure just will not lay right. So yeah. All right, and I'm just going to continue using that pull and loop lock method, and this is what it looks like once you are done sewing that final track. And then I'm just going to cut that mesh dome cap where that lace closure is. And as you can see, this is what the wig looks like, y'all. It is so full. Now I tried coloring this hair. This hair does not take to color, but that will be in my next video where I talk about the actual details on this hair. So now we are going to go ahead and layer some baby hair. Now, y'all, this is my first time ever doing baby hair. I typically I don't know why, I just don't do it. But I wanted to do some baby hair, try something new. I don't like a lot of baby hair, so I made sure that I only pulled out a little bit of hair. And really what I'm doing is lining up that part that lines up with the wig, that little bit of space that we left out in the front. This is where our baby hair will come from. So I am going to pluck it, and because this is a beauty supply store closure, it was not hard to pluck at all. Literally the hairs were just coming off, so I was just plucking it very, very lightly. Pluck to your desired look. If you like more baby hair, pluck less. If you like a more natural baby hair, pluck more. Also, when you are plucking any closure, any wig, make sure you are plucking from the base and not from just the hair alone, because you can end up just pulling the hair out but leaving that shaft in there or that knot in there. So make sure when you are plucking, you're going to the root of the hair to actually pluck the hair. And so I am still plucking. I went through the front and the back because I do like it more natural. I plucked to the front, I plucked to the back, I plucked in the middle, just because I just wanted to look very, very natural, y'all. So yeah. All right, and I am done plucking, so I'm going to actually cut my baby hair. I'm using an eyebrow razor, and I'm going to, if you cut them shorter, they look more natural, and if you cut them longer, they look a little bit less natural. So I just cut it to the length about where my lace was. I don't know why I used that as a guide, but I did, and it actually worked. So yeah, I'm just going in using my eyebrow razor to cut it off and make sure that it's no blunt cuts. I wanted it to look very staggered. So yeah. And then after that, I'm going to go in with my Nairobi foam wrap, and we are going to lay our edges. So yeah, and really I just used the comb. It worked well for me. A rat tail comb worked well, but if you have that edge brush, I'm sure that can work as well. And I did go ahead and clip the rest of the hair out the way, just so I could work with the edges and get my edges the way I like them. All right, and then after I finish my edges, I'm just going to put a scarf on them and let this hair air dry. All right, y'all, so this is the end of the video. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe. I will see y'all in my next video where I will be styling this hair so you can see how I actually applied it, cut it, and curled it. And thank y'all for watching.